Hello everyone. In recent days we mostly pass our time on many social media channels where we met some stranger sometimes. We might be in trouble if we forget to be conscious. And we are going to explain such type of movie today, which name is Searching. This is quite different from other mystery thriller movies. The entire film is viewed through the screen of a laptop or phone and shows how a father is going to search for her missing daughter through all digital footprints. The film begins with a photo-video montage depicting the Kim family's lives, including David, Pam, and Margot. They generally upload their personal moment on the laptop. Margot began taking piano lessons when she was a child. Pam was later diagnosed with lymphoma, which went into remission before recurring. David and Margot were there for her till she died in 2015. After 16 years, Margot's high school life is being started. In the present time, David chastises Margot for failing to take out the garbage. She promises to do it once she returns from her study group session. In return for his question of David, she assures coming back soon at home. David then chats with his brother Peter, who is attempting to recreate Pam's gumbo recipe. Over there, David notices some drugs present on the table and scolds his brother for that. But Peter ignores and tries to change the topic intentionally by showing him a cooking recipe. David falls asleep that night and misses 2 calls from Margot. The next morning, he calls back her but can't get any response from the other end. David messages Margot yet again for failing to take out the garbage. He hasn't heard from her for several hours. He attempts to reach Margot after work, but she never answers her phone. He suspects she is at a piano lesson and phones the teacher. The teacher confirms that Margot discontinued her lesson 6 months ago, implying that she has been keeping the $100 he had left her for herself. Because till last 6 months David pays her the class money. David becomes concerned. David calls his brother Peter to discuss this matter. Peter suggests he cross-check with all of her friends. But never ever, Margot induces her friends with David. Unfortunately, David now has no contact number for any of her friends. At this point, only a digital footprint can show him the path. So he traces down her social media account, but those are all private. David logs into the family computer. She has been keeping school friends' number in the address book. David pulls up Margot's classmates' phone numbers in Pam's old contacts list. He contacts Margot's childhood friend Isaac's house and chats with Isaac's mother, who tells David that Isaac and his pals left on a trip to the mountains, and she suspects Margot is among them. The angry father types a long text but ends up leaving a short text to Margot to call him back as soon as possible. Isaac calls David the next morning, who informs him that Margot is not with him and that he invited her but she declined. At this point, David dials 911 to report his missing daughter and soon after speaks with Detective Rosemary Vick, who is assigned to the case. While Detective is doing a recap of Margot's disappearance timeline, he searches for the strength of this detective and finds out she was being rewarded and she is having a son, and she with a group of people has built a recovery clinic. She instructs David to contact anyone who may have known Margot or knew where she was last seen. David searches Margot's laptop and discovers that all of her social media accounts are set to private. He enters her Facebook account with Pam's old email address and begins contacting Margot's classmates. The majority of them have alibis from the night Margot went missing, and others claim Margot was normally silent and aloof. Actually, after her mom's death, Margot was broken emotionally. David creates a chart to keep track of who he has spoken with in order to show Vick. David finds out about the girl whose house Margot visited that night. But she confirms Margot left by 9 p.m. on that night. Now David logs in her bank account and finds out that every week $100 for piano classes was actually balanced in her saving account. In total it is $2,500. Just a few days before, she transferred that amount to another account. After searching more deeper, David knows the receiver account and now deactivated after receiving the money. This, combined with the fact that David discovered Margot's Venmo transactions had taken out $2,500, leads Vick to believe Margot fled. Vick subsequently shows David traffic camera footage of Margot exiting a gas station and driving away from town. She also mails him a forged identification card, which Margot appears to have used under the name Jen Yoon. Maybe Margot was involved in some bad circle, which is the reason she needed that much money and run away, concluded the detective, though David doesn't trust this statement. David, fatigued and terrified, stumbled across the website Yowcast, where Margot has left live streaming footage. He reads through the saved recordings and notices that Margot would talk to Hannah, whose login was fish and chips. Hannah, who had a sick mother, could empathize with Margot. Hannah's mother is also a cancer patient for which she was doing a waitress job. Margot got emotional since her mother also died of cancer. Even the father of Hannah told her to drop out the school due to excess bills. David informs those things to Detective Vick, and Vick confirms by cross-checking that the moment Margot went missing, Hannah was at her workstation. During shutdown the laptop, David finds that one of the videos features Margot at a lake, which corresponds to a photo she put on her Tumblr account. It's Lake Barbosa, where Margot liked to unwind. This lake is very close to the location where Margot was last seen. David follows the directions from the location where Margot was last seen and voicemailed Detective Vick. When David arrives at the lake in the middle of the night, he contacts Vick. He discovers a Pokeball keychain belonging to Margot, showing that she was present and did not flee. Authorities pull Margot's car from the water in the morning and searches all places, but Margot is not seen anywhere. There is a $2,500 envelope, but Margot is not in the front or trunk. On the dashboard, there is some blood, but not sure whose blood is this. Margot's absence becomes widely publicized, prompting the search team to hunt the woods for her. All day long the search is continued, but no trace of Margot. Some people express their affection and hope for Margot's return, while others belittle the situation and accuse David of being involved in her absence. Due to the storm, the search by a volunteer was postponed and Vick states police investigation is still on. On Twitter, the hashtag #FindMargot becomes the new trend. Everyone is sharing their thoughts. Over there, Derek Ellis, one of Margot's classmates, who is a douchebag, jokes that Margot is with him and that he is her pimp. After checking in on Facebook, David discovers he's in a nearby movie theater and goes to confront him, resulting in David kicking Derek's ass and breaking his jaw, which patrons record on their phones. Vick advises David to stay away from the case as a result of this. David looks through images of the location where Margot's car was discovered. Closer scrutiny reveals a hockey hoodie in the front seat of the automobile that he knows as Peter's. David examines Margot's texts between her and Peter, which indicate that they have been doing something for which Peter knows David would murder him. He thinks to accuse Peter to the detective, but he changes his mind. Instead, David pays Peter a visit and installs cameras in his home in an attempt to get a confession from him. David inquires as to when Peter last saw Margot, and Peter appears to skirt the topic. David then assaults Peter until he exposes the truth, and Peter admits to smoking cannabis with Margot. She had captured him and wanted to try it, so they kept it hidden from David. Peter points out that he was the only one who listened to her when she talked about her mother's death, because David had avoided discussing it with her. That's why she dropped piano classes, because it reminded her mom that she could not tackle it alone. David understands how less he knows about his daughter. Vick then calls David, but he misses it and just hears her voicemail. Vick informs him that they have a suspect, and David sobs as he listens to the voicemail. According to the press, an ex-convict named Randy Kardoff confessed to killing Margot before committing suicide. A video of his confession is played, in which he apologizes tearfully for what he claims he did to her. David has received memorials and sympathies in response to the news. David starts uploading her picture for the memorial, and when he is done he receives an email where he spots a photo on the service's website that appears to be familiar. It was the same woman who has an account on Yowcast. Hannah, alias Fish and Chips, appears to be the culprit. He searches for her image on Google and discovers that the girl in the picture is a catalog model. David phones Hannah's workplace and speaks with her, but she has no idea who Margot is or what Yowcast is. She is just a model, not even her mother has cancer. Even Detective Vick never cross-checked this angel. David tries to contact Vick to further investigate because something doesn't stack up for him. Instead, he speaks with a woman from the police station who informs him that Vick is not present, and she reveals that Vick volunteered for the case rather than being assigned, as he had been led to believe. This seems like a mystery to David, and he digs a little further and discovers an article featuring Vick with construction workers. One of them is Randy, who has confessed to killing Margot and committed suicide. With this knowledge, David leads a group of police officers to Margot's memorial, and Vick is arrested. Vick is being interrogated a week after her arrest. She admits that all she did was due to a blunder made by her son Robert. It comes out that Robert had been in love with Margot for years, and he catfished her as Fish and Chips, using Hannah's picture as his own and creating this phony character and background for months. Since he knew that Margot lost her mom due to cancer, he plotted the same reasoning to get her attention of her. Margot had taken out the $2,500 to aid with his sick mother's hospital fees. She saved that money for his false mother so that his mother doesn't die. Unknowingly she was sent money to Robert's fake account. But after that Robert felt guilty and decided to meet Margot and confess the truth. When Robert discovered she is driving near the lake, he followed. To talk to her, Robert jumped into her car and Margot got scared. She started shouting, she began beating him in self-defense, and he retaliated by pushing her into the ravine in self-defense. When Robert called Vick in a panic, she told him not to do anything. She cooked up everything to throw David off, including creating a phony ID for Margot, making it appear as if her body had vanished, and even setting Randy up to make a false confession and have him murdered. Vick then suggests that Margot could have survived because there was a storm 2 days after she went missing, thus she would not have been completely dehydrated. Following this confession, Robert is also arrested. A rescue crew descends into the ravine where Margot has fallen. We saw the rescuers carrying up a body basket with Margot inside from a live news helicopter. David goes over to check on Margot. It's now been months. We witness a message exchange, followed by an image of David with Margot in a wheelchair in the hospital, confirming her survival. She is waiting and refreshing to see if she was accepted into the music conservatory to which she had applied. David texts her, assuring her that he is proud of her and that her mother is as well. If you enjoyed the explanation, it is of utmost request to subscribe to the channel and give a like. Your subscription is our inspiration. Hope to see you in the next videos. Thank you.